Hello and welcome to The Content Bite, a podcast for freelancers who use their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a freelance journalist, copywriter and content producer. I'm also the founder of Rachel's List, a jobs board and community for Australian writers and other creatives.
And I'm Lynne Testoni. I'm a journalist and content writer as well. Rachel and I are your weekly co-hosts, and every week we bring you all kinds of tips, tricks and some fabulous guests to help you make the most of your freelance business.
As a writer, I'm great with words, but I rely on Rounded to do the number crunching. Not only has it helped me get my head around my business finances without needing to rely on anyone else, Rounded also tells me who my top clients are and if I have a slow patch coming up. Plus, I can see exactly which of my services bring in the most money so I can make informed business decisions. So much control, but without the stress.
And don't forget, if you're a member of Rachel's List, a gold member of Rachel's List, you're in luck because you can save 20% on any annual Rounded plan.
Hi Lynne, how are you going?
I'm good. I'm really well. It's a lovely day in Sydney and sun shining, and we love that, don't we?
We've had so many great guests lately, haven't we? And we're getting towards the end of the year, but we just keep booking them in.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's really exciting. We've had some great guests, and I think it shows the pod is doing really well. We're getting people pitching to us, and we've got so many. Yeah, everyone's keen to come on it, so I'm really thrilled.
Yeah, and we have a great guest this week, someone that I am very excited about because I am a total fan of her books. But she's going to talk about juggling lots of writing projects with comms, which she sort of has a day job as well as being an author. So lots to learn about.
Yeah, it's writer Clare Fletcher.
Yay.
So she's written 2 novels, one of which just came out recently, Love Match. And she has a great podcast. I've been listening to it the last few days, which is fantastic. And she has a part-time role for the Walkley Foundation. So much to chat about.
Amazing.
Do you want to give her a quick intro?
Love to. Clare Fletcher was born and raised in regional Queensland. Her debut novel, romantic comedy 5 Bush Weddings, was published in 2022 by Penguin Random House, with a follow-up, Love Match, published in September, just gone. Clare also co-hosts that rom-com pod with fellow author Karina May, who also wrote a fantastic book, Duck à l'Orange, I think, or something. Anyway, I've got that completely wrong. Sorry, Karina. And also Clare works part-time in communications for the Walkley Foundation for Journalism. Welcome, Clare. You are on the podcast finally.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a delight to be with you.
We've wanted to get you on for ages and we finally made it happen, and also very excited because I've just read Love Match and obviously read 5 Bush Weddings before that, and we had that long and involved chat on Instagram where I was saying, is it going to be a sequel? Will it be a sequel? Will some of the characters and there was a few of the same characters in the second book, which made me very happy.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if I'd call it a sequel, but it's definitely got a few links. If you liked, or if you've read 5 Bush Weddings, you'll recognise a few little cameo appearances in Love Match.
It's a spin-off, maybe, or can you call it a spin-off in romantic comedy?
Spin-off, yeah, we've used that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was just it was a world. I had so much fun writing, and I really loved doing all of the little kind of side characters and the people in the background. So yeah, it's almost like having a cast that you can keep rolling out when you want to.
Is it weird creating those characters and then having to let them go or kind of close the door on them after spending so much time with them?
By the time I get to the end of editing, I'm like kicking them out the door. I don't want to see them. It's a funny thing though, because I never intended, 5 Bush Weddings was always just going to be a one-off story. And then the follow-up story came to me pretty instinctively when I had already finished writing certainly the first draft. So figuring out the links and the characters who recurred, making sure that it was consistent between them. I had to refer back to my own work, and I've done the same thing again. I thought I was just going to finish with Love Match, but now I've got 2 more ideas that I think I'd like to roll out in the same sort of universe.
Yeah.
And I wish I had planned it from the beginning, because now I kind of have to refer back to my own books like a very convoluted writing prompt.
Ecosystem.
Wow.
Wow. Well, we're both suckers for a good romantic comedy. So tell us how it all began back with 5 Bush Weddings.
Yeah, well, I think I had always dreamed of being a writer, but certainly, I guess, lost confidence in myself to claim that title because I just didn't do a lot of creative writing for a big chunk of my life. Well, that's what I always thought, but when I look back, I often find little bits and pieces that I did write. But, I was very consumed with my work, which was more around journalism and media, and so wasn't finding a lot of time to do creative writing. And it got to 2019 and I was definitely in my mid-30s at that point and sort of hit a point where I was like, if you're going to do this, you just need to have a go and try. And so I signed up to do the Year of the Novel course at Writing New South Wales, which I found really wonderful. And I also started plotting out a story, and I sort of thought that a romance novel would be, I had this idea in my head that a romance is formulaic and I could just kind of Google the structure and bash out a romance novel. It was a bit of a dismissive way of thinking, and I certainly recognize that now. And I sort of thought, it'll be my practice book. If I can smash out a romance, then I'll write my real great Australian novel.
Yeah.
But along the way, the setting came to me very naturally. I think almost always when I start writing, I go back to small towns and regional Australia, the kind of places where I grew up, that I think I'm always trying to revisit in my work. And the humour came very naturally as well. And I've always loved romantic comedies, although my sister will tell you that I was a bit ashamed of that back in the day. I used to pay out her and my mum for watching romance movies, but I secretly really loved them myself.
How long did it take you to write the novel? And I don't know how you found the time. You've got so much going on. Was it hard to carve it out?
Yeah, well, I think that's why the Year of the Novel worked really well for me. So that's kind of structured over 3 terms throughout a year. And, you're not actually submitting work. No one's going to check if you actually write a novel, but just having that structure and accountability. I think anyone who's worked in journalism can relate to not being able to complete a piece of writing without a deadline looming over you. And just, we had a really wonderful teacher, Emily Maguire, still teaches that course, and she's a fantastic Australian novelist, really generous with her knowledge. It was also a room full of all women, which I think, I'm sure that wasn't the only time that's happened in that course, but for some reason I think it's women who are always in these writing courses kind of looking for permission to tell their story.
Interesting.
And just being around people who were writing, and I guess finding the confidence to count yourself as a writer and think, I can do this. You sort of hit a point where you've got a few dozen thousand words and you're like, okay, there might actually be a book here. And I didn't finish it in the first year, but by that point I was pregnant, and so I had a real deadline.
Yes.
I had set the goal of entering the Banjo Prize, which is an unpublished manuscript prize for commercial fiction that HarperCollins has, and that closed in May, and my baby was due in late April. So I was like, I'll finish a draft and I'll put it in for the Banjo. So yeah, I mean, I guess I wrote it while I was working full time. It was a lot of late nights and weekends.
Yeah.
A lot of not spending time with my husband. You got to give up TV basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, my baby was a week overdue, 10 days overdue, and I think I had just sent the manuscript to Officeworks to have a printout sent to the 2 girls in my writing group, and my labour pains started pretty much immediately.
How convenient.
The best deadline you can get. I need to have another one, to be honest.
Yeah. Wow. So how was the process of, getting it in front of a publisher and that sort of thing?
Yeah, it's a real journey, and I certainly hoover up whenever writers share their sort of path to publication. I think I had a lot of luck. I certainly had a really smooth ride because I know a lot more writers now to understand that I was really lucky in that my process was really quite quick.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a few manuscripts under their belt before they manage to break through with an agent or a publisher. And I guess I was really lucky that with my first one, I sent it to 5 agents. And I wanted a bit of guidance. So Writing New South Wales has a mentoring program, and I paid to have Emily Maguire as my mentor. She kind of helped me polish the manuscript didn't win the Banjo Prize, although I've since talked to the people that judged it and they're like, oh, we wish we got your book at that point. Yeah, so Emily helped me. We were working towards submitting to agents, so send out kind of samples and a letter to 5 different agents, and had some interest from Curtis Brown. Clare Fletcher is my agent there now. And again, I think it was just sheer luck that Claire had gone to the University of Queensland and lived on college and sort of recognised this cultural world of the book. Because Five Bush Weddings opens with a scene at a wedding reception in the bush where Eagle Rock starts to play and the men drop their pants.
Is that a country thing? Is
Yeah.
it? I don't know.
It's a country
that.
thing. And I've only learned this since, like, it is not it's not something that people recognise across Australia. It's very much a Queensland thing, and probably about 50-50 in New South Wales, but a Victorian, a West Australian, you know, they got no idea.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a really great image and very sort of funny and, you know, a good way to start off a story. But at the same time, if you don't really recognise it, hopefully it will lure you in. But having that moment of recognition and Claire knowing that world, I think really got her into the story, and she became a really wonderful champion for it. And I'm very lucky that she's got some great contacts in publishing.
Yeah.
So it only came out last year and you've already done another one. Gosh, was there a bit of publicity? Were you on a roll? How does that work?
Yeah, it's tricky because I suppose the timing when a book is coming out, it's not always as linear as it might look, I guess, from the outside.
So it was a year before that or whatever that you were.
Yeah, so I think we signed the deal for Five Bush Weddings and an unnamed second book in about probably September 2021. And so, yeah, it was around a bit less than a 12-month turnaround that Five Bush Weddings was sort of edited and came out. And when we did the deal, I had about 50,000 words of a second book, because the advice that everyone gives you when you do have your story out on submission is that it's going to take forever. You're going to weather a lot of rejection. The best thing you can do is go back to writing and throw yourself into something that you love.
Yeah. Is it normal to get a 2-book deal, or is that just down to your agent negotiating that? Or
yeah, I'm told that it is harder to get a 2-book deal now even than it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's certainly not uncommon, but I think on a debut, particularly, and I suppose maybe that's a difference between commercial fiction and literary fiction as well. Maybe because literary fiction, you know, takes more time and the books might be more wildly different. Whereas I suppose if someone's proposing 2 commercial fiction books, the publisher can expect they'll be fairly consistent and, you know, easily marketable to the same people who buy the first book.
Yeah.
So with the publicity trail, did you do a lot? We hear sort of like it's hard for a first-time author, but how did that work?
It's interesting, and I think what's most difficult for a first-time author is just not really knowing what to expect. On the flip side, I think there's actually a lot of interest in debuts, so you do have a moment or interest that you might not necessarily have on the second book. But at least by the second book, you kind of know what to expect. And it's a weird life being a writer, because you have to have this sort of hubris or ego to think that what you're writing is, you know, worthwhile for other people to read. You sort of need to believe in it to pull it off. But at the same time, every writer I know is the most insecure, emotionally vulnerable, kind of skinless, cringing creature. And so I've always hoovered up interviews and writing from other writers, and I think that helped me manage expectations a little bit when I didn't know what to expect. And again, I had a really wonderful experience in that my publisher really backed Five Bush Weddings when it came out. I think it was one of their lead titles of the month when it was released, which means they're putting resources behind making sure people see it. And I think a lot of particularly debut authors don't necessarily get the same level of investment. So I was really lucky that the book, it certainly felt like it was everywhere, which is all you can hope for.
I remember seeing it in lots of places.
And beautiful cover, really striking. And
really beautiful cover. I've always loved the way that they've packaged the books. And a bit of press, got to do events, and again, had a bit of support from the publisher to do events in my home state, even my hometown, the week that it came out. So that was really special to take it back kind of to the places where it was set and the people that I really wrote it for. So yeah, that was lovely.
How cool. Well, commercial fiction, novels like yours, is supposed to be more financially rewarding. Has that been your experience?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and it's a really interesting industry, especially, I come from, I guess, magazine or journalism world. I've got a friend, Karina, who comes from digital marketing, and we're always bemoaning the fact that there's almost no data available. It's really opaque, the world of publishing.
Pip told us that. Pip Harry has also told us that. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't even know my sales figures for Love Match yet. I haven't asked my publisher, and they haven't, volunteered any information. A lot of the time, they don't tell you things because they're kind of protecting you. And I'm sort of happy to stay in blissful ignorance because the figures are almost always disappointing. It's really hard. The market is really flooded. I think I was listening to the First Time podcast this morning, and they were talking about an article, and this was about the US market, but they were saying that the number of books published has increased tenfold in the last 15 or 16 years. And the market is the same.
Yeah.
So there are so many books being released and so few being bought.
I mean, I've heard that anecdotally, like literary fiction particularly, that there's quite a lot of literary fiction that only sells like 600 copies.
Yeah.
And even to get a bestseller in literary fiction, you're only looking at, say, 10,000. Commercial fiction is a bit different.
Yeah, I mean, I think we still use that same benchmark of 10,000 for a bestseller.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I suppose it's an interesting state of play, especially coming up through unions as well. Like, I've always been a member of the MEAA. This idea that in publishing, talking about your advance, everyone is very secretive. There's no culture of sharing information. So obviously there's no way anyone could sort of band together and collectively organize, because we just don't know what other people are making. And partly that's, I don't know, it's just the culture.
It is the culture. It's interesting, isn't it?
And I guess it means that you don't want to volunteer information when no one else has. You don't really know sort of where you fit or how everything fits. So it's very difficult to measure or know what you're measuring yourself against. But like you say, the figures, especially for literary fiction, are quite low. And I think commercial fiction does more than that. And when you think about how people read, people who read crime or who read romance are people who read a lot. They're probably buying more books than someone who is, really savouring every sentence of a literary novel.
Some people might read both, but they might read one literary fiction to two commercial fiction or three, and that's part of it, I think.
It's interesting to think about even just sort of the tribes within commercial fiction. And I will say the best thing about becoming an author has been connecting with other authors. Like, everyone is so lovely, particularly the crime writers. The women crime writers in Sydney are the loveliest bunch. And the trouble is that I don't choose to read that much crime, but because I've been going to so many book launches, I now have all of these crime books. But I found it interesting, particularly looking at some of the year-end lists last year, or, when Booktopia or Dymocks will have their top 100 that readers vote for. It always feels to me like crime is much more represented in there than romance, for example, or rom-com. So, I like to get out and beat the drum for rom-com.
Do you think the literary world looks down on romance novelists? I mean, I think traditionally they used to, and I sort of saw that personally as a bit of a sneering because it's a female-dominated category or genre.
Yeah, it's so interesting to look at that and think about it. I think there's absolutely a kind of misogyny that has coloured it over the years, but I think we're in a really special moment where that is shifting somewhat. I mean, publishers have known for a long time that it's women who have the purchasing power. Like, so much of the marketing is geared to women because it's women who buy books, even when it's books for men that are
women are buying them for men.
With the understanding that women are buying them. And oddly enough, like, that was the strategy with releasing 5 Bush Weddings in August last year. It was like, everything out there is going to be books aimed at dads for Father's Day, which is, I think, one of the biggest buying points of the year. We're going to have your book as the book that the women buying the books for Father's Day want to take home one for themselves, and it'll
Yeah.
be
Oh,
yours.
that's nice. Oh, that's
Good
good.
strategy.
That's lovely.
That was the thinking. I don't know if that works. Sometimes I think they just tell you things to
Yeah.
to make you feel better.
Oh, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
It's hard to look at like the major festivals, and I think because I was always a literary reader, like I was a snob. Like when I decided I was going to write the book that I went to write, I was thinking that a romance novel was going to be easy. I looked down on it too. And it was only when I started writing it that I realized how fun it could be. And it was only when I started reading more in that genre that the world just opened up to me. It's so much more fun to read a story where you know you're going to get a happy ending. And I think, I suppose because there is a formula of sorts, or because you know you'll get a happy ending, that people think that it's not that inventive or creative, but it almost takes a little more creativity to
rise above the pack.
Yeah.
You might be using tropes, but it's how you do it. It's, it's the journey, not the destination kind of thing. Yeah. And so it's always hard to look at, when the program comes out for a Sydney Writers' Festival or the big literary festivals, and see just how little is there for readers who love commercial fiction, especially romance. But I think the tide is turning a bit. And you can't argue with the numbers. Like romance is the top selling genre, I think, around the world. And especially with BookTok and Bookstagram, we're seeing a new generation of women readers who are completely unapologetic about what they love to read, whether that's romance, whether it's, the spicier, smuttier types of romance that's really trending on TikTok and doing very well. They don't want to hide those books. They're proud that they read them.
Yeah. And
I think that's shifting the way that publishers think about what they're buying and what they're publishing. It's a really interesting time.
Is that something that you're sort of dipping your toe in, the BookTok, kind of world, or have you not needed to?
I'm a bit of a Luddite, and if you've listened to the podcast, Karina is very much on TikTok, and I'm very much
Yes,
not.
I saw that. That's what I was going to say, because she's all about it and she's mentioning things, and I wondered if that had changed since the episode I heard.
No, I think I'm a bit compulsive. Like, I love Instagram. It's been a really wonderful community and a great way to find community as a writer, not just connecting with other writers, but connecting with readers. But I think if I started with TikTok too, I'd get too obsessed and I'd be on there all the time. I just don't think I could be cool enough to do it well. I've got friends who are great at it. And I mean, it's certainly, if you can crack it, I think it's a really great tool in your arsenal as a writer trying to reach an audience. But at the same time, like a lot of the books that have gone really viral on TikTok, it's not generally the author generating that. It has to come from readers. So I think the best that I would try to do, and I think, the marketing team at Penguin have tried a few little things to try to get your book into the hands of TikTokers in a way that appeals to them by, shouting out what tropes they can expect in the book, or having, really great visuals is another thing. I think I read where print sales of books have actually gone up compared to ebooks, and a lot of it is driven by people wanting to have the physical object or the visual object to share on social media.
Interesting.
God, like I'm shying away from Threads. I should try and really do more on Threads, but also I haven't even gone to TikTok because I just think that's all my time gone. Like like pretty much 75% of my time is gone on Instagram. So it's like if I add TikTok to the mix and Threads, when would I get any work done?
I know. I think it's okay. Well, I tell myself it's okay to just, pick one or two things and try to do them well, rather than kind of spread yourself across them all and do it in a cringe way. But I think that works for the podcast because, Karina's super enthusiastic and she's across all of the trends. And then because I'm so clueless, she can explain them to me, and I guess any of our listeners who are also clueless can be taken along on the journey.
You have other skills that she probably doesn't have, so you complement each other. A bit like Lynne and myself.
We're quite different too. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, look, tell us a bit about your role with the Walkley Foundation, because we haven't really touched on that. And is it part-time? What does it all involve? What are you doing every day?
Yeah, I'm really lucky. I'm part-time. After I had my daughter, I went back 3 days a week, and I've actually gone down to 2 days a week in the last year or so. So, I mean, I guess that's a great privilege to be able to do that. And yeah, in terms of the juggle, I think I would have to give all credit to having a supportive boss. So our CEO at the Walkleys, Shona Martin, came from publishing. So she's always had a really wonderful insight into what I'm working on, and she's been really supportive, which makes a world of difference. And, you know, great childcare. So I can afford to have 4 days of childcare a week. So 2 days are at the Walkleys in the office, and 2 days are earmarked for writing, but often get spent doing podcast recording or appointments or Pilates or whatever.
Yeah,
but
all the things.
you have to live to write.
Yes, you do.
So the Walkleys work is in comms, like communications. So what do you like about that? Is it be a nice contrast to the fiction?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I've been there for so long. Like it was my first job. I interned just as I was finishing my studies at QUT, and this is 15 years ago now. Like it's quite a while ago. I was actually there at the Walkleys as a volunteer the night they had the punch up on the stage, which was very exciting. And then I got a traineeship the following year. And again, that was really special and doesn't really happen anymore, in that I got to do the cadetship training with the new group of cadets for the Sydney Morning Herald and the Financial Review and SBS. So that was like a month full time in a classroom, doing shorthand training in the morning and then different kinds of journalism training in the afternoon. And yeah, so my role initially with the Walkleys was kind of assisting on events and the magazine, which I always really loved working on. I think magazines were always a great love of mine, so it was an incredible joy and privilege to get to work on that magazine, which we talked a little bit about off air, which was really distributed 6 times a year to all of the members of the Media, Entertainment and Arts Alliance who were journalists, and really speaking kind of to and for Australian journalists in the industry. Also got to work with a lot of cartoonists to illustrate that and do all the covers. So
that's fun.
Good fun.
God, yeah, that was really special. So as I kind of came up through the Walkleys, it was partly about working on events. We did a lot of conferences and professional development stuff at that time, and the mag, as well as, of course, producing the journalism awards each year. And I guess it's always interesting to be with an organisation for such a long period of time, because you see how things shift and change. And just as journalism has really evolved over that period of time, what the Walkleys does and needed to be kind of shifted as well. And so, you know, it kind of stopped being feasible to print a magazine 6 times a year. So that was a really sad thing to let go of, but at the same time, you know, I guess freed up resources to do other things that are serving the industry. And so now the focus is really on a lot of professional development, which is really growing that offering over the next year or two, grants and like literal support for journalists, especially freelancers or regional journalists, to actually make journalism. So yeah, I guess I kind of went from more of an editorial role into more communications over the last few years. And yeah, that has been a nice compliment, and that probably has opened me up to find the mental space to write fiction, because I suppose it's a little more discreet, or I don't want to say
easily contained.
Right. I don't want to say that
you
it's
can
not
separate.
creative, but
you can compartmentalize the two types of work.
Where I would once have worked very long hours, you know, making sure that a magazine was ready on deadline. Now I can kind of say I'm done at 5 o'clock, or I can't look at my emails on a day when I'm not working. And my team respects that, and that's what allows me to write creatively.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that, you know, 5 Bush Weddings was going to be a one and done book. Then along came Love Match. Now you've got 2 more ideas for 2 more books in that ecosystem. So how are you structuring your average week these days? Do you have a structure that sort of, I suppose the days you're at the Walkleys are those days, but how do you structure your book writing?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be It's got to be fluid. I'm always trying to find the perfect routine, and always, reinventing things, listening to interviews with other writers and trying to find that perfect thing that they do that's going to make me suddenly the most disciplined writer. And I'm yet to find it, and just trying to be more gentle with myself that, some months will be really productive and I'll write a lot of words, and some months I won't. But that's kind of the nature of the beast. I guess it's difficult when you use something like word count to track your progress, and sometimes you will be productive and hitting your goals in that way, but you just can't do that year round. Like, so much of writing a story is thinking about it, sitting with it, or not thinking about it, and have it kind of bubbling away in the back of your mind, absorbing culture and stories and life around you and the things that will actually go into a story. You sort of have to have downtime to do it well, but that can be really difficult to allow yourself when you're worried about, delivering or hitting goals.
I remember seeing did you used to do time-lapse videos when you were deep in the book writing and put those on Instagram? I remember seeing them. They were really good.
It's always the great challenge of trying to have a bit of an online presence when you don't have like a product, or, when you are working, it's not always very visual. Yeah. So I've done a bit of time lapse. It's been a while. I would always get messages from people saying that my setup wasn't ergonomic enough. Like, your head shouldn't be looking down.
Oh dear.
That's a good idea though, just to set the camera and,
Well, it means that you won't leave the desk and like go and eat chocolate or have a cup of tea if you feel like you're accountable to some faceless person on the internet.
Yeah.
You can just build that into your marketing. Once a week, time-lapse video.
Now, you talked about the course you did. Do you think that's a great way to start? Because I know a lot of our listeners are really interested in, finishing that novel or getting a novel published. Do you think that really helped? Was the real kicker for you?
It really helped me, but my advice to people is always that you don't need to wait for conditions to be perfect, for your idea to be perfect, for permission. The best way to learn is just to get started, and you'll very quickly find out what you don't know or what you need to know to keep going. But I think it's women in particular are often waiting, and this is not just in novel writing, but so many types of work. We want to be qualified before we allow ourselves to start. And I guess it's a function of being so busy and time poor that you don't want to invest your time in something that may not work out. But at the same time, you can't know if you're any good at it until you have a go. And so and so much of it is persistence and learning. I think doing courses has always helped me, and maybe it goes back to being a nerd at school, and just like positive reinforcement is a motivation for me to keep going, and having the structure of someone, whether it's deadlines or whether it's accountability to someone, helps me. But I think you just need to find out what it's going to be that motivates you, because you won't magically find extra time. You're going to have to say no or cut out something that is currently in your life if you're going to find time to write. So you need to know what you're working towards, I guess, to get yourself through it.
Was it like, though, going in person to a course, like rather than doing it online, was kind of an extra motivation a little bit, because you had to make that time? You couldn't just go, it's online, I'll do it when I have a minute, and then you never do.
No, that really helped. I mean, it was also like that thing of paying for a gym membership, like having laid out the money to do that course, kind of guilted me into keeping on going. And it was nerve-wracking, but it was just so worth it. I mean, I still have good friends from that course. One of my beautiful friends, Emily, has her debut novel coming out next year, which is going to be just amazing.
Emily Maguire, the one who...
No, her name's Emily Usher. She's moved to South Australia, but she wrote this beautiful book called Wild Ground, and it's coming out, and she's getting like a big release in the US and the UK as well. So I think that could be quite amazing.
That's
it's
exciting.
more
cool.
literary fiction, that one.
Oh, that's exciting.
And amidst all of this, you started a podcast. So what made you start the podcast? How is it fitting into your life? What's it about? Tell us everything.
Yeah, it maybe wasn't the best choice personally, but so Karina May is another author that I think we literally slid into each other's DMs because before either of us had been published. And she's just a really wonderful, like sunny, warm personality. And she has been, working towards this dream for a little longer than me. So she knew a lot more about writing process, particularly about romance. She'd been a member of RWA, the Romance Writers Association, for a while. So she's really well connected. And we just really hit it off. And I think we would meet up to try and write at the State Library, and then we'd end up spending all of our time in the cafe just talking. And, talking about the kind of books and stories that we love, which are these, stories that give you the warm, fuzzy feeling of falling in love through characters in a book or a movie. And we had joked for a while that we should just start recording these conversations. And then I think it was when we saw you it might have been Megan Rogers' book launch, Rachel, that we were like, maybe we could do this.
Yeah, I got to meet Karina there, and actually I went and bought her book straight away. So I got to read hers and Megan's as well. And yeah, that was quite cool because I knew who you were, but you weren't. I don't think you remembered me from that one meeting we had at the Walker a few years ago.
It's so terrible because we have emailed each other for years. You are a very real presence to me, but I'm still getting used to seeing your face.
Don't worry, everybody still thinks I'm a tattooed, blonde woman.
I know, the lady from the stock images.
Yeah. But not anymore.
That was how I pictured you as well.
Yeah. Oh God. That was
glamorous
really cool,
both ways.
Yeah. So two of you have written absolutely brilliant books. Karina's book is it Love? Oh,
so
the title
her first book came out in, I think, April this year, Duck à l'orange for breakfast.
That's the one I've read. Yeah. Yeah. Very funny.
Always feel bad. I butcher the French pronunciation, but yeah, it's gorgeous. And she has another one coming out in a couple of weeks, Never Ever Forever.
Oh, I think I need to get a pre-order on that one.
The beautiful thing that Karina does with her stories is she always has an element of travel. It's always part of her story. So in Duck l'Orange for Breakfast, obviously, there is some scenes in France, in Paris and Rouen, I think. And Never Ever Forever, it kind of goes between Mudgee, so that kind of lovely small town vibe, and Mumbai. They go to India as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's sort of part of her writing process as well. So she always likes to do a little trip to get the story started.
Any excuse, really.
Yeah, well, that sounds great. Sounds great.
It's genius for her accounting, I have to say. She's always got a tax deductible trip.
Yeah. Nice.
She's very clever.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I'll have to get onto the podcast. That's on my list then.
Well, it's very silly. So each episode we look at a trope, or we've done a couple of non-trope episodes, but we just sort of look at,
was it friends to enemies? I love that. No, enemies to friends or whatever. That's quite
enemies
nice.
To lovers.
Enemies to lovers. I love that. Yeah,
actually Friends to Lovers is coming out tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, how cool. This is right up my street. I can't believe it.
You'll love it, right?
Yeah,
you really will.
Yeah.
The dangerous thing about it is that we end up just kind of listing off all of our favorites, and you will finish an episode with a lot more books on your list that you want to read.
Yes.
I've been watching a lot more movies to prepare for it, which has been really fun. Obviously, we're going to get into our Christmas romance season very soon.
That's great.
But we just put out an episode every couple of weeks, and we record again every couple of weeks, usually on a Friday afternoon. We've tried doing recording 2 at once, and I think you can always hear which is the second episode. Gets a bit
we used to
do 6 at once because that was
right at the beginning.
Right at the beginning when we used to do 10-minute episodes. And it just makes sense to do a batch, but it takes it out of you.
Before we had a lot of guests too.
Before we had guests.
So I think that's something that we'd love to try to expand into a little bit next year, is maybe interviewing some of the titans of the genre. But I guess what we really wanted to do was to take readers through, people might love some of the big trending TikTok books. So if you love an Emily Henry, Emily Henry is doing very well. Her books are fantastic, but there are so many wonderful Australian writers doing similar things, and we really wanted to platform those. So each
Yeah.
episode will do like a pairing. So if you like Emily Henry, you might like this book, or if you
Yeah.
like Lee Alderton, you should read Genevieve Novak. Yeah, it's just a great platform to shout out Australians.
Oh,
Yeah.
that sounds nice. Yeah.
Amazing.
So one thing we do ask all our guests is about tech tips. I don't know. I'd love to know what you write your novels on. I mean, we've had people talk about Scrivener, or is it your standard old Word? How do you?
Yeah,
what do you do?
I'm glad I saw this question so that I had some time to think about it, because I might have said that I don't use any technology, but I realized that I do. So I use Scrivener, which I find really helpful because you can kind of drag and drop scenes if you want to move things around. It's a really useful tool for that. But I write in this, I don't know if you call it a program, it's web-based. It's called 750words.com, and I started writing in it when I was living in New York in like 2010. And it literally is to encourage you to write 750 words a day. And, you know, there have been entire years when I haven't written in there at all. But, you know, when you get a streak going, it will give you little badges and encouragement.
Oh, that sounds
I'm
good.
definitely going to try that tool. So you could use it for features as well, couldn't you? If you're just struggling to get that first draft down.
I mean, sometimes it's just when I just want to get the words out, sometimes you're just free writing, but even just the act of getting started. And I think 750 words, it's less intimidating than trying to hit like 1,000.
Yeah.
But if you write 750 words, you've probably got most of a scene. And you'll often want to keep going once you do get into a groove.
Yeah.
So that's very helpful. It was free when I started. It might cost a little bit of money now, but it's just, yeah, I love it. It's very lo-fi.
Oh, good. We'll check that out, definitely. We love lo-fi
Yeah,
tips.
for sure.
And it collects all this weird data, like it'll do almost like a word cloud when you finish of what the most common words you used are. It'll like give you little graphs of what emotions were coming through, or it's very interesting. And actually it's amazing because it's just this database of pretty much the first draft of everything I've ever written for 15 years.
So it retains everything through the previous days and all of that. That's very cool.
And so when my MacBook died last year, when I thought I had lost 60,000 words of my novel, I would have been able to pretty much go back and pull it together from 750words.com. But
yeah, wow.
There you are. Oh, wow.
yeah.
Oh, amazing.
That's great.
Well, this has been a very interesting chat, Claire. Thank you.
That's lovely. I think Rachel's done some fangirling because she loves your books so much. I feel bad that I haven't read them, but I have listened to the pod. So
yes, we've had a few authors on lately, so it's been a really great couple of months for, you know, getting to meet our writing heroes.
I was just listening back to your conversation with Charlotte Wood, which was incredible.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yes, it was really
well,
good.
you know, there's always time to read books. I mean, I think it's an absolute honor that when we have so much content available to us that anyone would spend, you know, 12 hours reading something that I've written. So I take that as the highest compliment. And, you know, books make a great Christmas present if you want to.
Well, exactly.
There's always time to read.
It's just-
And these are great holiday reads, I would say.
They are. It's about just going into another world, isn't it? And you just don't want to leave. That's why when it's over, you get so sad and depressed.
No.
Someone like me will contact you going, right, where's the next one?
Oh, well, I better go write the next one.
Yes. Well, tell us before you go, tell us where people can find out more about you and your books and your work and all that.
Thank you. Well, I'm probably most active on Instagram. My handle there is Clare Fletcher Writer. I do a monthly Substack. Just at the end of each month, I send a newsletter of what I've been reading and writing, and you can find that on my website.
Didn't know about that.
Yeah, just Google my name.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Wow, thank you, Claire, so much for being our guest this week. We really loved the chat. It was really lovely to talk about books and the Walkleys and everything. It's really good.
Oh, thank you, Lynne and Rachel.
And that brings us to the end of the show. But thanks to everyone listening. And we'll leave details of how to connect with Claire in our show notes. And don't forget to leave a rating and review on the platform where you find your pods.
Yes, please.
Yeah, and I should say thanks again to our sponsors, rounded.com.au. because they're easy in accounting and invoicing software, and they're just made for Australian freelancers and sole traders. So go to rounded.com.au.
We'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Bye.